You are exhausting yourself, trying to copy the exact habits of people who made it to the top, quietly wondering why your life still feels like a sinking ship. But what if the map they handed you was never a reliable guide, but merely a highly decorated, winning lottery ticket? Before we dive deeper into this quiet illusion that is weighing down your mind, take a moment to subscribe to the Psyche Unfolding channel so we can continue these late-night conversations. I know exactly how heavy your shoulders feel right now. You wake up long before the sun even touches the horizon. You put in the grueling hours, and you carefully trace the footprints of the victorious. You listen to the stories of those who stood at the absolute peak of the mountain, taking mental notes of every single step they took to get there. Standing still, you aggressively adopt their morning routines, you mimic their relentless work ethic, and you force yourself to drink from the bitter cup of discipline, truly believing that if you just recreate their exact actions, you will inevitably recreate their exact results. Yet, the long days bleed into months, the months bleed into years, and you find yourself standing in the exact same spot, completely surrounded by a thick, suffocating fog. The creeping, terrible feeling that you are fundamentally broken begins to take root deep within your chest. You look at the glittering figures standing in the bright light, holding up their golden trophies, and you look down at your own tired, worn-out hands, wondering what invisible flaw is cursed into your bones. You carry this shame like a heavy stone, weighing 50 kilograms hidden inside your backpack, dragging your bleeding feet along a jagged, endless path. You think your lack of explosive triumph is a lack of character, a devastating failure of willpower, or a cosmic sign that you are simply not enough. Imagine walking through a dense, foggy forest path where the mist clings to your skin and the cold slowly seeps into your joints. You are following a set of glowing footprints left by someone who supposedly found the way out of the darkness. You step exactly where they stepped. You turn exactly where they turned. But instead of leading you to a bright, sunlit meadow, the footprints lead you to an abandoned house with broken windows and rotting floorboards. You stand in the center of this empty, decaying room, wondering why doing everything perfectly right still led you straight into the void. I want you to listen to me very carefully right now. It is absolutely not your fault. The success stories you have been fed are beautiful, intoxicating lies. I have spent years quietly observing how human beings catalogue victory, and I have noticed a deeply flawed, almost tragic pattern in the way we look at the world. We build grand, majestic marble museums for the winners. We hang their radiant portraits in brightly lit halls, and we listen to their speeches as if they possess some divine, unbreakable secret to the universe. But we never, ever visit the silent cemetery of the forgotten. I call this the illusion of the survivors. To truly understand what this means, I want you to close your eyes and walk with me to a wooden harbour the morning after a massive, violent storm. The sky is still the colour of bruised iron, and the cold waves are violently crashing against the stone pillars. Out of 100 ships that bravely sailed out the day before, only 3 ships return. We immediately run to the harbour, loudly cheering for the returning captains. We desperately examine the wet, splintered wood of their vessels. We ask the captains how they steered their massive wheels, what kind of dried food they ate, and exactly how they tied the thick ropes around their sails. The captains, swelling with pride and relief, tell us about their special knots and their unique way of gripping the wheel. We immediately write down their words as absolute truth, assuming that these specific knots and this specific grip are the ultimate secrets to surviving a deadly storm. But here is the silent, devastating truth that no one standing at the harbour realises. We do not see the 97 other ships resting in absolute silence at the bottom of the dark, freezing ocean. Those sunken ships had the exact same knots tied on their sails. Their captains ate the exact same dried food and gripped the wooden wheels with the exact same desperate strength. They steered the exact same way, with the exact same unyielding courage. They were simply hit by a rogue wave 3 meters higher, or the chaotic wind shifted a fraction of a degree, violently plunging them into the cold abyss. Because the heavy ocean swallowed their voices, we can never ask the sunken captains for their side of the story. We only hear the loud voices of the survivors, and so we mistakenly believe that their conscious actions were the sole reason for their survival. We are entirely blind to the invisible graveyard. We listen to the victorious merchant who says he became incredibly rich because he took a massive, reckless risk in the empty desert, travelling hundreds of kilometres off the beaten path. We write down his dangerous advice as unbreakable law, preaching that massive risk is the only way to ultimate freedom. We completely ignore the 1,000 other merchants who took the exact same reckless risk, wandered 10 kilometres into the same scorching desert, and lost absolutely everything to the blowing sands. Their voices cannot be heard from beneath the heavy dunes, so we comfortably assume they do not exist. Let us look at the vast, open plains of human ambition. You see the one shining warrior returning from the harsh battlefield, proudly lifting his sword to the heavens. You assume his glorious victory came from his unmatched physical strength or his flawless mental strategy. What you do not see are the 10,000 warriors who trained just as fiercely, who struck with the exact same precision, but who fell simply because the sun happened to blind their eyes for a fraction of a second, or because the ground beneath their boots was unexpectedly soft. We constantly rewrite history to make sense of a terrifyingly chaotic world. We crave certainty so desperately that we pretend random luck does not exist. Think of your beautiful mind as an incredibly complex, intricately wound clockwork. You have spent your entire life. Turning the tiny gears and oiling the delicate mechanics, desperately trying to make your hands move in perfect synchronization with the clocks of the highly successful. When your clock ticks at a different pace, you immediately assume the mechanism is broken. But the clockwork is not broken. It is simply keeping its own unique time. This invisible bias is exactly why you feel so much pain and crippling inadequacy in your own life. You are comparing your messy, confusing, behind-the-scenes reality to a highly curated highlight reel of sheer probability. You are violently judging your own beautiful soul based on a severely skewed dataset. You force yourself to wake up at 4 in the morning because a man who built a massive empire loudly declared that waking up early was his golden key to the universe. You do not see the millions of exhausted, heartbroken people who also painfully drag themselves out of bed at 4 in the morning, working their fingers to the bone, who never build an empire because the unpredictable winds of circumstance blew in an entirely different direction. This realization is not meant to break your hope or drag you into despair. It is meant to completely shatter the heavy illusion that is holding you captive in a mental prison. Success is not a simple mathematical equation where your input perfectly and always equals your output. It is a wildly chaotic, unpredictable dance between intense preparation, quiet resilience, and an enormous amount of invisible, uncontrollable luck. The survivors will very rarely admit this out loud. It is a deeply ingrained human instinct to attribute all of our victories to our own brilliance, and all of our failures to bad luck. The captain who survived the storm genuinely believes it was his superior skill that saved him, because acknowledging the terrifying, indifferent power of the random waves would completely break his mind. So, he writes a popular book about his special knots, and you read it, and you eagerly tie your ropes exactly like his, and you cry bitter tears when your ship still takes on water. Stop crying over the wet ropes. The map they proudly gave you only worked for their specific journey, under their specific weather conditions, facing their specific winds. You are currently navigating an entirely different ocean. If you are finding comfort in this shared realization, and if you truly wish to walk further down these quiet paths of deep understanding, I warmly invite you to subscribe to the Psyche Unfolding channel. It is finally time to drop that heavy 50-kilogram stone from your tired, aching shoulders. The realization that worldly victory is heavily painted with the broad brush of invisible chance is profoundly, incredibly liberating. When you finally internalize this truth, you will look at the world with entirely new, peaceful eyes. The crushing pressure to perfectly mirror the habits of lucky strangers will completely evaporate into the air. It means you are officially allowed to stop forcing yourself into the rigid, agonizing molds of the survivors. It means you can stop violently punishing yourself for not achieving the same explosive, visible triumphs as the loud people standing in the spotlight. You will no longer feel the burning, toxic shame of inadequacy when you look at your own reflection in the mirror. You will understand that your quiet journey is beautifully, completely your own. You are entirely free to chart your own course, to find a natural rhythm that actually matches the gentle beating of your own heart. You can sleep until the warm sun comes up if that is what your deeply tired body needs, knowing with absolute certainty that the hour you wake up does not dictate the value of your soul. Your worth as a human being is not measured by whether you return to the harbour to the deafening sound of golden trumpets and cheering crowds. Your worth is found in the quiet, dignified resilience of navigating your own unique weather, day after day, regardless of who is watching. Every single day you wake up and face the world, despite the heavy fog and the cold wind, is a profound victory in itself. You are doing so much better than you think you are. You have successfully survived every single dark night you have ever faced. The violent storm will eventually pass, the thick fog will lift from the forest path, and the chaotic, howling winds will inevitably settle into a warm, gentle breeze. You do not need their highly decorated lottery ticket. You only need your own internal compass. Let the heavy burden gracefully fall to the ground right now. Breathe in the cool, clearing air and feel the tension leave your muscles. You are no longer hopelessly chasing ghosts in the dark. You are finally truly free.